Hey everybody, Sherri Echols, your host here of the Operation Successful Transition podcast. I am super excited today to introduce you to my friend Daniel Ruiz. He is a Texas-born veteran and he has a veteran-owned company that serves all of Texas. He's a current member of the Texas Association of Licensed Investigators, as well as a current member of the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association. He's a retired federal law enforcement officer and has over 20 years of combined law enforcement and security experience. He's located in Bryan, Texas, and specializes in missing people. I met Daniel at the Entrepreneur Boot Camp for Veterans, and I'm super excited to have you listen to him today. So, how are you doing today, Daniel?
Great, thank you for having me on. I've been looking forward to this for the last month now, I think.
Yeah, I'm so excited. We finally made it happen. I know my schedule has been crazy, so sorry about the delays. But so tell us a little bit about kind of what inspired you to start doing law enforcement and looking for missing people.
As far as law enforcement goes, I had my uncle. He was in the Marines, and he was a San Diego Police Department. So growing up, I had kind of had that, kind of influence. Also, I had another uncle that worked law enforcement in Weslaco, and he was with the Sheriff's Department. So I kind of was around it a little bit, and it's kind of where I knew I wanted to go, the direction. As far as the missing people, mysteries, I always like mysteries, especially when came to missing people, because I always try to figure out what happened to them. There would always be like news, the public ones. There'd always be like news stories, like where this person was last seen or whatever. Growing up, there was a show, Unsolved Mysteries, and they
Yeah.
used to do a lot of stuff like that. And it always piqued my interest, and I always wanted to kind of help. Also, I mentioned in my website, I said, growing up on the milk cartons, there was all these pictures of missing kids.
Right, right.
And
Yeah.
it was very sad, because like it was kind of eerie the way the pictures were, because they were almost like blurred a little bit. But I remember I always felt sad, like, why did this person go? Where'd this child go?
Yeah.
So it always was in the back of my mind. And when I was going towards retirement, I think that's something I really want to do.
Yeah, it's a scary thing when someone goes missing, Usually, I guess sometimes there's a reason why they disappear, and then obviously totally different reasons why they may disappear in another way. Like sometimes they're runaways, I guess, and then sometimes they're taken, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah, each case is different.
I imagine you run into all kinds of things.
There's so many different scenarios and so many, and that's another thing with it. You hope for the best. And there's cases where I felt the person was still around and alive and it just chance, but my clients didn't think so. And he ended up being alive. So he
Yeah.
ended up being found. So that was great. But then there was also cases that were kind of sad as well, where I don't think it ended, you know, we weren't able to find them, but I think I was able to give some answers to the parent that was missing their child.
Yeah, yeah, I think closing that loop is important to know, not have that mystery about are they alive or not. I can imagine, can't even imagine, what would happen if one of my kids came up missing or someone who I loved. So I think it's such a valuable service that you're providing there. So do you have like a specialty in finding missing people? Like, is it missing veterans or missing people who have gone to maybe the sex trade or just plain old anybody,
Well, I do it different ways. Some are just clients that call and or email, whatever, text message, trying to look up to find somebody. But then also I do volunteering too. I do a volunteering with a human trafficking organization out of Houston, and I look at their cold cases. And if I'm not doing nothing or whatever, I'll pick a cold case and I'll just start working it. And social media is a blessing a lot of times because you can find a lot of things on social media. I don't want to give out everything, but you can find out a lot of stuff. Sometimes people tell on themselves. So that's always good to look into as well.
yeah, sleuthing. And I understand not wanting to give away your secrets, but I would imagine that that could be very rewarding, finding people who've been, kidnapped and forced into doing things that they wouldn't normally want to do. Especially daughters. I've met, I have friends who have had daughters who were taken, but they ended up getting them back. And, there's always a little bit of deprogramming that comes with rescuing them. And when they come back, they've been in some pretty not nice places, right?
Yeah, human trafficking is kind of like a whole new something that's just up until these last couple of years. It's now starting to get on the radar for everybody, and people are starting to become aware. And You see different things on social media about people talking about if they leave some kind of mark on their car or something, whether a letter or a ribbon or something like that, be careful and stuff like that. So, the more people are telling each other, I think people are starting to look out more for this. And yeah, it's a whole different world as far as that's concerned.
Absolutely. It seems so much more rampant. Maybe we're just more aware of it now, or maybe it is getting bigger. Watching your little kids, even, and yeah, young girls. And, when we're in our early 20s, we think we're invincible, right? We're not watching out for that kind of thing. We think it'll never happen to us. But I think that might be a target audience that's particularly vulnerable, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, if you go on Facebook or whatever, it seems like even just in this local community that we're in over here in Bryan College Station, it seems like every week or every other week there's somebody that's being reported missing. So it's definitely something that needs to be looked into. You mentioned veterans. Veterans have, and people as well have general like shelters they can go to and ways to get support and stuff like that. So you want to be able to try and help people as much as possible. And if that's, helping finding them and letting them be aware of some of these services, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you do other, you say you're specialized in missing people, but what other kinds of things do you do in your business?
Well, all right. So I'll do missing persons. I try and stay away from the domestics. I don't like to do too much domestic stuff, but if the situation justifies it in some way, I will do some domestic cases on a case by case basis. So I will do that. I've done stalking. I've done some stalking cases and stuff like that for some exes that wouldn't leave the
Yeah.
person alone. So I've done some stuff like that and background checks. Mostly, a lot of people just want to know, hey, somebody's at work acting kind of weird. I don't know about this person, or you know, so online media, dating, stuff like that. Who is this person? Does they have a background? So I'll do some background checks and stuff like that on some websites. I'll take classes, I'll take training, I meet people there for the classes and the training and stuff. And it's always good to, just keep on expanding and growing your network, because the more you do that, the more you can kind of like find out different areas and different ways that you can help or become a part of.
Oh, absolutely. When my girls were, college age, I would tell them, they would call me and ask me, should I do this job or this job? And I was like, whatever you do is going to open doors for you. Some of them you're going to want to go through, and some of them you're not going to want to go through. But I'm finding out the more that I get involved with veterans and doing volunteer work and service in any way that I can, I'm meeting more and more people and on up the food chain even. And just it's amazing to me how receptive everyone is. I say I want to put on a claims clinic and veterans resource fair. So I called the local VSO and she was all yes. And we're going to co-brand it. And she's got the Brazos Center for us now. So February 8th, we want to have you there. Maybe you could set up a booth if you like.
Oh
But
yeah, sure.
I'm super excited about this. And, we're going to try to get the VSOs from around, all the counties around us there to help people file claims actually there, but then have booths of the people that I've met from EBV and then people that she knows, either like veteran owned businesses or businesses that serve veterans, to have these booths and just have a big day of hanging out and, service to veterans. So, anyway, I'm super excited about it. That's something I got working.
No, yeah, no, that sounds like a fun day. I'm looking forward to it. Also, I just remembered there was another case I just did recently, and this was kind of different case, but I was actually helping to try and find missing jewelry. And yeah, it was basically a couple that came up it was for one of the football games that weekend and stayed at one of the hotels and switched rooms. But when they went back to the room, they had forgot their jewelry. When they switched the rooms, they didn't take it with them, and they were missing some high price value jewelry. So they were trying to find that. And, that was just old fashioned. I put up flyers. You know, made phone calls and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I don't think they were able to find it. They contacted the police and did a police report, but I don't think it was found, unfortunately. But yeah, so definitely you never know what kind of case you're going to get. That was one of them, was trying to find the jewelry. We think we have a pretty good idea who did it, but juvenile and stuff like that. So there's really nothing you can do. That's a certain level.
Yeah, I would imagine there are some dead ends, and that's why there are dead cases. If people run out of time and resources and energy on a case, then that's fills your docket, right? Gives you plenty of things to investigate.
But you want to know something funny about the thing is a lot of these cases, especially a lot of these cold cases, and then there'll be an update. A lot of times it's people that maybe got in trouble and they might know some things, and then they'll give intel to law enforcement to maybe get a better deal for them. And so sometimes you might think nothing about it, and then a year or 2 years later, all of a sudden a breaking case happens. So you never know. Sometimes people just like to talk.
Yeah, they get a case of the conscience.
That too. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of those kinds of shows. I watch shows about prisons and shows about murderers and all kinds of things like that. That's not that I want to be in jail, but that's kind of a fascinating world to me, the hierarchy and the how the systems work and what do people do, how what changes about their life or what are they into that lands them in a position like that, right? So
Yeah.
landing you in a position of being missing would be a similar kind of thing, could be anyway.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of different emotions, a lot of different emotions. Like when I was able to find one of my clients, workers I used to work for them, they were able to find them, and that was just you feel like you won the lottery when you find out. You're like, wow, that's so great. But then there was another one where the case didn't turn out where I wanted it to, and I felt sad. I felt sad for a while, and so it's a very range of emotions that you go through.
I would imagine it'd be hard to not get your heart involved in something like that.
Oh yeah, because a lot of times, honestly, when you take, especially for me, when I take case, a lot of times I try and put myself kind of like in that situation with that person, and I kind of try and think, okay, what would I do? Where would I go? Who would I talk to? Stuff like that. And then that's where I'll do the social media. I'll look on their page, look and see who's leaving messages, look and seeing who's liking stuff, and then kind of maybe follow them around, and then follow that person around, and just it just kind of spreads out. And then you kind of start getting more of a bigger picture of everything that's going on. Also, a lot of times people will tell something to like the friend or the parent or the brother. They'll give them some kind of inside information, and that's good to know too, because that can put you down a whole nother road.
Yeah, yeah. I would imagine sometimes people are listening and sometimes they're just not really listening. So someone can tell them this is going on with me and this is going to happen, but they may not take them seriously.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There's times where people, and like you said, you watch these TV shows and, oh, someone made a report about this, somebody being suspicious or some car driving around or whatever, but nobody really followed up, or it was, mistaken or whatever. So yeah, you never know. Sometimes just comes out of blue, and sometimes things happen like that. But
yeah,
that's the reason why, you got to put the time and energy into them. And that's the thing, it's happening so much that not every case gets the attention that you would like to give it to.
yeah. There's, I guess, other stuff going on that ends up taking priority or,
Yeah, and then that's where where volunteers and, like you said, even amateur sleuths and stuff like that, people that, like you said, like to watch TV or whatnot, that's where a lot of them come in and they can kind of help out. A lot of times when a case starts getting almost like a little too deep in certain situations or whatever, I'm not equipped to handle a lot of that, some of that stuff. So I'll just contact the law office, the law agency, and the person in charge, and I'll just give them everything that I have and say, this is what I have. I can't really go too much further with this, but if this can help you in your case,
yeah.
here it is. And I've done that a couple of times as well.
So what's the distinction between, I guess, Brazos County or city of and federal law enforcement?
Oh, okay, yeah. Federal. Well, the federal stuff I did for law enforcement was Bureau of Prisons, and I did pretty much all levels. My last one was here at Bryan. It was actually a camp, and that was a female camp. So that was more or less like white collar crimes and people that kind of do stuff like tax fraud, stuff like that. So a lot of times, federal stuff is either going to be like white collar crimes or drugs, maybe. Also, the higher ups, that's where you will get the murders and stuff like that at the penitentiaries and stuff like that. Supermaxes are kind of like for the kingpins and stuff like that. That's where a lot of those people go, inmates and stuff like that go there to time. Each one has their own different. Some are locked down 23 hours a day, only 1 hour recess. Some, are just kind of like almost like a work. They can go outside and work in the community even, and
Mhm.
come back during the day. So depending on the level of prison is the level of security and the freedoms that the inmates have.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I just watched the Martha Stewart's show on Netflix talking about her prison stint. So a
Yeah.
little bit lower security, I guess, for something that she claims she didn't do, but that securities fraud and internal insider trading, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, and actually, with Martha Stewart, I believe she was the warden's intern.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, not intern. I'm sorry, but orderly. It's called orderly. The warden's orderly, and so basically, she would kind of like maybe make the food or whatever, or to make sure that the office and everything and outside, landscaping type stuff like that. So yeah, and that's a trusted position as well. So I heard that's what she was, so kind of high up there as far as orderlies are concerned.
Using all her talents that she got famous for, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Powerhouse. It was
you can't
anyway.
get anybody better. Can't get anybody better than that. So,
Exactly. Exactly. And I think her and Snoop are adorable together. I think that's just so funny.
oh yeah, yeah, and it's really, and that's another good thing too. Because like just because you might get in trouble or something might happen, and that's what I would do a lot of times for my workers. I was in charge of the kitchen at a couple of my prisons that I worked at. But I would tell my workers, I'll say, hey, listen, just because you made a mistake or, doesn't mean that's it. You can always bounce back. You can always, even if you can't find a job, make a job. You know,
Yeah.
over here, there's people that may go out there and do, you know, food, cakes, cookies, all different kinds of things, and I'm saying it's as big and as limited as you want. And I said, even if you're just being a janitor and cleaning, when you get out, you could do a cleaning service. You
Right. It's a
know,
big bucket, right?
yeah, it can be as big as you want and it can be as small as you want. And I would always try and give them some kind of motivational. I like to listen to a lot of motivational, so I'd like to give them some kind of motivational speech. Once a day, once every other day. But you want to tell them, hey, listen, you can come back, you can bounce back, and it's so I always like that part as well. So like you said, Martha Stewart, she did her time. Now she's out and she's doing great things on TV and stuff. So it wasn't the end all be all.
Right. Right. And I don't know what percentage of the world now is entrepreneurial and how many people there are. I am, and most of the people I hang out with are. We think we vibrate at a different frequency than people who get a regular paycheck, right?
Yeah,
They're a
yeah.
little more paycheck and gotta go make that money, right?
And
But
that was the one thing that I really enjoyed. You mentioned the entrepreneur veterans boot camp that
yeah,
was at Texas A&M this past summer, and that was one of the cool things about it was everyone there had let go of their ego, and it was just pretty much like everybody just helping each other out. And a lot of these guys had great military accolades, and they could really walk around with their chest out like, "Hey, I did this, I did that," but there wasn't that. I mean, yeah, you recognize and you respect for what they did.
yeah.
But they were there to help each other out, and you were there to help them out, and it was just a great, like you said, community to be a part of and for that time.
I have a mastermind is what I would call that. If you're, setting your ego aside and everybody's just really trying to brainstorm and help each other out to increase their business and do better. I've got one with my coach. It's a smaller group out of the big group. And, we have a chance to present and then we either have a give or an ask. And then the whole group will kind of focus on what you're doing and how you can improve or what you need to change or what you should add or what you should take away, that kind of thing. So I appreciate those things too. It's fun.
And another thing is just trying. Not every idea you're going to have is going to be a home run, but you're putting yourself out there and you're constantly trying to try and you're constantly trying to do this and do that. It's better than not doing anything, I think, in my mind. And like you said, where these workshops, where you meet other people and have all these different ideas and brainstorms, that can only do anything but help you. And so yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah. And, it's incredibly rare that someone just tries an idea and is an immediate overnight success, right? Overnight success takes about 30, 20 years, whatever, however long it is. But, like even Tiger Woods, he started playing golf when he was in a high chair practically, right?
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah,
uh,
it's you're always if you always got want to learn and grow and just keep on getting, even if something small or little, and networking, you can never do enough networking and just like you said, socializing and meeting certain people in the industry that you're in. Even if they're not even in your industry, sometimes they might be able to, like us, we got to talking and he asked about the podcast. I said, sure, this is great. This is actually my first podcast interview, so I ever
yeah,
did.
you're doing great.
Yeah, so you never know. You next thing be on a podcast. So lots of
Yeah.
good stuff can happen just by reaching out.
I like it too. When I went to Texas A&M, I studied business management. And one of the things that I took away from there is it's better to have several heads working on a problem than it is to have just one, right? You get all these different ideas and all this different input, and it makes a better product in the end than just one person focusing on it. So having people from they have different businesses, different fields, different, genres, kind of contributing the best of what they know is really, really valuable.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then especially with private investigation, it's a very small segment. It's not like something that's like a fast food restaurant or something like that.
Yeah.
So you really got your own little category there that you got to kind of reach out a little bit more and kind of like wave your hand a little bit and say, hey, I'm here, and so yeah, it's definitely different. When I first started out here, I don't think there was no more than 2 or 3, but I'm starting to see more and more people, and even actually people that retired in the prison with me are writing me and calling me and saying, hey, I want to do something like that, and I want to help out. And I give them advice and I help them out. I think there's a lot of like gatekeeping in this community, where they don't want to, other people maybe not want to tell other people stuff, and
Yeah.
that can help them out, and learn and grow. But to me, I don't think that does anything, in your benefit. It's actually, I think it's better to help somebody out, and then later on, maybe you guys can collaborate and work with each other. So
That's true.
that's my mindset.
Yeah, there's enough pie. There's no way that you could serve absolutely
Yeah.
everyone in this town, especially with those cases that take a long time. I mean, you're only one person with so many hours in the day, right? So,
Yeah, and the good thing about here in Texas is I can certified to do private investigations throughout the whole state. So you don't have to limit yourself to just Bryan College Station or whatever area you're in. And like you mentioned, Tally, that's I want to call it a union, but that's kind of like a organization for the private investigations. Everybody can kind of like go to and talk and web forum, and they have convention every year and stuff like that. So, and you can learn from each other and ask each other questions as well too. So, this, like you said, it's more enough to go around, and why not help somebody out that's asking for it?
it's an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. So,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you're going to get more out of it by helping than just trying to know, I'm not going to tell you nothing. So, yeah, so there's a lot of growth in it. And honestly, a lot of people that I meet, you'll be surprised, will come up to me and say, I always wanted to do that. Or I
yeah,
always thought about doing that. Or, oh, yeah, I watch the TV shows, and I want to do something like that. So
right.
there is a lot of times, there is a sense of, wanting to know and wanting to learn and stuff like that. And that's great. Even if, like you said, even on a volunteer basis or whatever, that's just one of the good things to do.
Yeah. Who didn't grow up watching detective shows on TV, right? Columbo
I love Columbo. Columbo was one of my favorite ones.
and
Yes.
Telly
Hmm.
Savalas, the bald guy. What was his? Do you remember that?
Oh,
You may be
I
younger than
don't. I
me.
know you're talking about, but I don't remember that one. I don't remember.
Remember his real name, but yeah, so many different shows where
Yeah. Columbo,
CSI, crime scene investigators, and
Magnum PI. That was another one.
yeah, oh yeah, he was cute. Yeah, and even shows like Dexter and that, but that's kind of the romantic side of it. And I don't think you start out at the beginning usually being a detective, especially if you're going through the police department, right? You have to earn your stripes, so to speak, and go up through the
Oh
ranks.
yeah, if you're trying to go to police smart, yeah, a lot of times the guys will start off on patrol, and then later on they'll find a division that they might want to like, and they can go to there, whether it be gangs, vice, narcotics, whatever, and then they become specialized in those areas.
So is there some kind of like certification program you go through to be a private investigator, or do you just kind of are good at sleuthing and you just kind of hang your sign on the window?
For Texas, I believe there's like 3 or 4 different ways. One might be education, if you have your bachelor's degree and then some kind of work experience. So many hours you can go qualify to take the test. Another would be if you have law enforcement experience and you have investigation experience and stuff like that, you can be able to take a test. There was another option too, and unfortunately, it got taken away about 2 years ago. But it was like if you took like a 200-hour vocational training course,
Hmm.
and I think it was offered in UNT, and they had a special course for private investigator. If you did that course, you could take the test as well.
Yeah.
So, but they did away with that. They don't have
Hmm.
the program no more. So there's that little loophole right there, and hopefully somebody feels it, so other people have the opportunity to take this course and become a private investigator if they're not able to do it the other ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you do have to take a test, though. You do have to meet the qualifications. Then you take a test. You select what city, major cities. I think it's like Houston, Austin, Dallas. I went to Houston, and then study for the test. And then you have to pass I don't know if it's 70, 75%. I'm not sure. You do have to pass the percentage and not miss the questions. And then start your business up. And then that's exactly where the EBV and all that stuff comes in that was able to help and learn about the LLCs and bookkeeping and all that stuff because it is a business. Even though
Exactly.
it's something that I enjoy doing, you still have to do the other stuff too.
Yeah. Becoming a realtor, we take so many hours of classes, then we take the test. Does not prepare you for being a realtor, how to do your business, running the actual business of it. Like you say, the bookkeeping and hanging
Yeah,
on to some of the money, right? We pay a lot for
yeah.
marketing, different things that we do. So how to keep a little bit for yourself and
And you got like, the beginning years aren't may not be all that, there's a learning. You're gonna learn a lot of stuff, especially the first year and two. So, if you're thinking you're gonna it's possible you might be able to, but your first year or two, you might not be making as much as you want to be or as you think you're going to be and stuff like
that's
that.
true.
So keep that in mind as well too. I mean, definitely go for it and give it your all, but realize that starting a business from the ground up is going to be a lot of work.
Yeah, it takes, I think, 3 to 5 years. I don't know that's what it always used to be. It may be longer now, but 3 to 5 years to get any small business off the ground, really, so that it's sustainable, right?
Sounds about right. That
So
sounds
don't
about
quit your day job. Maybe start doing it part-time until you get income enough to replace something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a job as well, that I do on the side, full-time job, and but this year I'm doing a lot more better than in my first year, and I'm seeing an improvement, 100%. So yeah, who knows to say what next year's going to bring, and next year after that, next year after that, and a lot of times, honestly, I didn't do it for the money. I didn't get into this to become rich or anything. I just did it because I wanted to help, and this is something I enjoy doing as far as like trying to help out somebody that might need some help. So, and that's rewarding in itself.
Oh,
So, it depends on what you're getting into, the reason.
that's good. It's kind of a passion project. And that, they say if you love what you're doing, it never seems like work. So it
Yeah.
earn a living at it, right?
The biggest thing I think is time. You really have to balance your time because things can start, stockpiling, and next thing you know, one little thing, and there's like 20 little things. And so you got to balance your time and your sleep and everything. And, that's another thing. Sometimes you just want to go, go, go. And that's what we talked about in the EBV is sometimes you're going to want to keep on going all night or going. And you're the one that's going to have, when it's your business, you're the one that's going to have to stop yourself because there's no time clock or nothing that you punch and say, okay, I'm done. Sometimes if you get the energy, you want to keep on going and keep on going. But you really got to kind of pull back on the reins sometimes because you need to worry about yourself as well.
That's true. You have to take care of yourself. And, it's easy to isolate yourself. Like, seems like most of what I do is work, right? Working and volunteering. Those are my things, right?
It takes
And
time. It takes
I
up a lot
live,
of time of your day.
yeah, I live with dogs. There's no other person in my house. I see my mom and dad every week or so,
You
because
got to
it's
get the dogs loving.
right,
The
right.
doggies need loving. And here's another thing. And they even talked about this at the EBV. They said when you graduate or when you get done with this program, you're going to have all this energy and all these ideas. And they were right. And I'm still feeling it to this day. And that was back in, I think, the end of July. So I'm still feeling that, okay, I got energy. Let's do this. Let's do that. I got this idea. Let me try this out, and yeah, it's still there. And sometimes, it's a good thing. And sometimes it's okay, let's go to bed because you got to wake up early in the morning.
Yeah.
So there's definitely you got to get a middle point.
Well, they say, education without implementation is just entertainment. So
Yeah.
it's good that you're implementing and actually making use of the things that you learned. A lot of people go to a conference like that and take a book full of notes and then they put the book away and never do anything with what they've learned, right? So,
And that's another thing too, and you might have more experience, but like I know it's a lot of times some people will tell you, and they have all these great ideas and all these great plans and all these great a lot of things, but they don't do nothing with it, And it's like I tell them, when they're at talking to me or whatever, I'm like, okay, those are great and that's awesome, but you're gonna have to take the next step. You're gonna have to take that test. You're going to have to, decide what kind of business you're going to be, how you're going to advertise, how, you're going to have to take it, put in some work, do it next further, and it's going to be risky and it is scary, and it can be scary, I should say. So, but no risk, no reward sometimes in this, especially an entrepreneur, like you said. And another thing they talked about in class was pivot. And they said sometimes you might start off with one idea, but then you might pivot into another idea once you start to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too. Maybe it might not be exactly what you wanted to do when you started off, but but you started, and that's the big thing is starting. So yeah, that's another thing is you can have all, like you said, you can have all the information in the world, but if you're not doing nothing with it, it's really not going to do nothing.
Yeah. And, most any entrepreneur will tell you they fail forward, right? So you keep trying things and some things are going to work great and some things just aren't. So that's part of that pivot. If it ain't working, stop, do something else, or maybe tweak and add to, or, just make some change. Don't keep doing the same thing that isn't working and spend the same money that isn't profiting you, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
unfortunately.
about the not not everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. They may think they are, but you have to have a certain amount of drive and stamina and persistence, and it just takes something different than going to a day job from 8 to 5 and getting a certain paycheck and certain benefits and certain days off, right? That is a surety, and you know exactly what's going to happen. And some people really need that. And there's no harm in that. And I'm not cutting that down at all. I'm just saying it's a whole different mindset. And when you get into being an entrepreneur, your time may not be your own. Like I have gotten better about limiting things, but I have to realize a lot of my clients work during the day. So we have to look at houses in the evening or on the weekends, right? I'm kind of tied up in that way. And I do take days off. Sometimes I'll take a day during the week off if I don't have any appointments, something like that. I'll just say, hey, I can steal a day and go do some me time, right? And do some self-care. I think you're exactly right. If you don't take care of yourself and treat yourself nicely, you will burn out for sure. And then you won't be good for anyone, right? You're not going to be good for your business. You're not going to be healthy. You're not going to be good for your family and the people that you love.
Yeah, another thing I like to add is belief in yourself,
Yes.
because a lot of times, at least with me and stuff like that, I know probably everybody else as well that's kind of in the same situation. You're not going to have that pat on the back, or you're not going to have that clap or whatever, and there's some times where you're going to like questions or whatever are going to come into your head, like, is this worth it, or whatever, and is this really what you want, just doubt sometimes or whatever little. But you really get, and that's where the belief comes in, because that's going to be your strength, and whatever faith or whatever you believe in, you're gonna have to rely on that during those down times and during those times when these questions come, and really believe in what you're doing to persevere, like you're saying, for entrepreneurship, because a
Right.
lot of times you're not gonna see the results right away. You might not get no likes, you might not get no repost or whatever, but you
Right.
still got to do it. You still got to put in the work, and you still got to believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing in your product, and like you said, always constantly grow and try and get better. So
Yeah.
that's, I think, another thing too, is belief.
Got to keep just consistently dripping. Like building a wall is one brick at a time. You just got to lay the bricks, right?
Oh yeah.
Sometimes, but you got to keep laying them.
And also, going back to what you're talking about, burnout. Yeah, listen to your body. Listen to your body. I mean, it's good to want to push yourself and keep on going, but if your body's telling you something like, "Hey, you need a day off, or you need a break, or you just," sometimes it's worth it. Take that day off, and then guess what? The next day you're so much more better than just constantly trying to go and be like almost like a zombie. So yeah, it's definitely good to listen to your body and give yourself those breaks when you need it.
Yeah, the last person that I interviewed for the podcast was a stress management coach. That's her whole job is helping people de-stress. There's a lot of different ways to do that, whether it's exercise or meditation or, whatever it is
Yeah.
that soothes the ragged beast within. You got to do that. You can't, stay stressed out all the time. It's just not good for your
Oh, it's not good for you at all.
not good for you at all. You were talking about believe it. You got to believe it to achieve it. And if you see it and do believe it, then you can achieve it. There's a book. It's called Think and Grow Rich. I don't know if you've read that or not.
I
It's
haven't, but I think I heard of it.
You should read it. It's good. I bought a bunch of them to give to people like who I feel like could benefit from it. And that's one of the things that it talks about is if you have to believe it to achieve it. If
Yeah,
you
manifestation. Just see it in your mind and manifest and think about it and think, scenarios and what you can do to get to that level or get to where you want to be. And like you said, brick by brick, step by step, take it step by, and then next thing you know, you're up there pretty good. And you're like, okay, cool. Another thing that I've done before is I started the Reach program last year at A&M, but I wasn't able to complete it because of my work duties. But one of the things that they did is they had you take a piece of paper and then they'd have you write like, what do you want to have be done in 3 months from now, in 6 months from now, stuff, whatever. And then you would fold the paper over and then hand it in. And then at the end of the graduation, they would give you that paper and you see how far you come to your goal. And I think that's a good thing too, to journal, to write stuff down, to, have the poster boards or whatever, notebooks or whatever, notepads. And just, so you can have a chance when you're feeling like you're not really progressing, you can go back and look at them and be like, okay, look at, I already did everything I wanted to do in that 3 months. I did everything I wanted to do in that 6 month, or year, whatever. And, that way you don't have to be so down, on yourself sometimes by looking at some of these things and saying, okay, I am doing stuff and things are happening.
Yeah, it's a couple of comments on that. There's a book called The Gap and the Gain.
Oh, okay.
And usually we live in the gap. Like we're doing all these things, but we haven't reached our goal yet. And that's all we see. So we're not there yet, right? But it's super important to stop and look behind you at these are all the things that I've already done and accomplished. So this is how far I've come.
Oh, yeah.
You have to recognize what you've done. And then the other thing is on goal planning. You have to write it down, or else you're kind of wandering around without a purpose,
Yeah.
especially being an entrepreneur. You need to write down like whether it's how many sales you need to make and the steps you need to make that happen. What are your sales goals each quarter? Or, whatever you want to make progress with. If you're developing systems or you're trying to do some kind of marketing schedule, that kind of thing. So I use the 12-week year. That's another book, but you condense it down into 3 months, right? 3 months is a year, so like every day is a week, that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
you only pick like three goals that you want to get done in those next 3 months, but you can break it down from, quarter to month to week to day even, and then you know exactly what you're doing every day to get your goals accomplished, and you can get a whole bunch more done um, if you're
Oh,
actually
yeah.
writing down and planning it out, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I notice a lot of fitness books and fitness magazines and stuff like that. They like that 90-day transformation, like, okay, in 90 days you want to be this much body fat or this much in shape or whatever. So yeah, definitely the same thing. Like you said, break it down and then just take it little bit by little and then go from there.
Yeah, yeah. Atomic Habits is another good one where, you speaking in the fitness thing, right? You do 20 push-ups and 50 sit-ups a day. By the end of 90 days, you're gonna have some muscle tone, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're definitely gonna be better than when you started.
It doesn't feel like it's a big change, but if you just do that constant drip of the constant activity,
Oh
you
yeah.
we're at the end, right? You'd be way farther off at the end. So, is there something else that we haven't touched on yet? There's something else that you want to say?
Basically, I kind of wanted to go like you were talking about in the veterans route and stuff like that, and want getting out and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Adapt
that's
maybe.
like the last question I usually ask is what
Yeah.
question or what piece of advice do you have for someone who's about to transition out of the military so that they have a much more successful experience? What kind of pitfalls can you help them avoid?
The biggest thing I would think with that is if you know you're gonna get out and have a good general idea you're gonna get out, start a little bit early. So like if you have like a year left, maybe start putting in for that application for that job with the county or the city or the state or the corporation, and start taking maybe some of these back because a lot of these jobs have background checks, of law enforcement, you're going to have polygraph and all different kinds of different things that you're going to have to do, and that takes time. It's not, so, and if you do it up until that, if you wait till that second, you're going to have that little bit of gap. All right, so start early, and I think you'll see a lot more less stress as far as because you're basically going from one to another, and there's very little gap. Take advantage of the benefits and the programs. the college, whatever you took or whatever, post 9/11, whatever, take advantage of that, and don't be intimidated by that. Some guys, they get intimidated, or girls get, like, oh, I don't know if I really want to go to college, and they might not use that, and, but that could be a good thing. And certification programs and stuff like that. There's a lot of people out there willing to help you, and you just kind of. And right now it's great because a lot of people have YouTube, a lot of people have TikToks, a lot of people have different things and what you want to get into. Like one of them at the BV was talking about government contracting and how she was able to do really well in that. So there's a lot of different avenues, and entrepreneur, your own business if you want to, if you don't really want to work for nobody, or whatever kind of skill or whatever you have. So there's a million things out there. So have an idea, give yourself a little bit of time, and then it's going to make things a lot more easier when you get out.
Have a plan, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's going to be some readjusting when you get out, as far as like dealing with the public and stuff like that. Not everybody's going to have that regiment of, military life and stuff like that. It might be a little bit. I know some people, they say, when I go out Walmart, I feel weird, or, wherever, supermarket or mall, or, being around a lot of people or in close spaces, stuff like that. And, that's normal. And, it's for some, some things. And, it might take a little time, and it might take a little adjustment, and, don't be too hard on yourself and stuff like that.
I think you have to give yourself some grace because it is a big change,
Yeah.
huge change, right?
Yeah.
And
But at the
remember
same
that
time,
there are people out there to help, and even if it's just a friend, don't hesitate to call on them if you're having some kind of concern. Just call and talk it out with somebody, right?
oh yeah, and another thing, and this is not just veterans, but it's everybody, anybody that, a lot of people, they have a lot of life experience, and they have a lot of different things. You might not have a 4-year degree, or you might not have this or have that, whatever, but you do have some other stuff. And I think that's really good to realize that. And, I was talking to one lady, and she was a Walmart greeter a greeter at Walmart. And, and she was telling me that she was doing it for like 40 years or something, a lot of time. And I was like, well, why don't you try and, go and teach people how to greet and what to look for, and what to, you're an expert in this. You've done this for 40 years.
Right.
Nobody's going to have that experience and that knowledge that you have, and you can go out and tell people and train people, and that could be like a gig, going out there. But she's like, oh, no, 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 she didn't want to, and more power to her. But that option is there. Don't think, oh, I'm just this and this is all I'm ever gonna, no, you can do more. And that was just one example I was using. But yeah, you might have experience in something that nobody else has, or and
Yeah.
you can grow, and and then
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they were talking about, oh, I know who it was, the veterinarian. They came to my house. I use uh, Chasing Tails, and they come to do house calls. They were talking about the only other person they knew who did a podcast was a lady in town who does canning,
okay.
about canning. So that's what she does. And she makes enough money to support her life. She quit her full-time job to do her YouTube account about canning. So whatever you know about, people are interested. You can teach whatever you know. It's easy
I
as
mean,
that.
that's a great skill, and then that's a, and especially right now with food prices and stuff like that. Like a lot of times, even somebody buy all this stuff because it's on sale, but they're not gonna be able to eat it, because it's like it's gonna go bad. So yeah, canning will come perfect for that, and yeah, that's those are skills, and those are things that should be passed down to other people, just in case. You never know.
Yeah. Or if you have an interesting perspective on life, just do like influencer stuff. It's amazing to me that people
Um,
can make millions of dollars just showing their life on on video. It's the
yeah,
strangest.
there's people, they play video games, and
Yeah.
that million people on YouTube, and they're driving Lamborghinis and stuff. So yeah, sky's the limit. It's what you want to do and how you want to do it, and it's there. It's definitely there. Even if you don't want to go outside or do stuff, maybe you have some kind of disability, whatever. So yeah, you can still do things, and you can still be very productive. So yes, it's there. Like you said, is just going out there and just figuring it out, and then implement it.
Yeah, exactly. Find out what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and go for it. Exactly.
Yep. And like you're doing your podcast and stuff like that, and that's great. And that's, a lot of people, before maybe it wasn't as But now a lot of people are getting their own channels, their podcast followers and stuff like that. And it's opening up doors for other people as well too. So yeah, there's definitely so much growth right now with the, especially with social media and stuff like that, YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
I had a one friend, she was bartending and she would do little skits with one of her customers. And it actually paid for her college while she was going to school here at A&M.
That's
So
fine.
yeah, man, I mean, it's there, definitely there, and definitely a lot of stuff like that. So it's whatever your imagination is, you can do.
Right. All right. Just you tap in your own creativity and put it out there. You never know. You never know what's going to go viral, like they say.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's true too. I did a little TikTok for Veterans Day on my page, and it shot up like almost 1,000 people just looked at it right away. You know, I was like, whoa, I didn't realize that that was just gonna be like a little thing. So, because I don't really have that many followers or something like that. I do it, but I don't really do it like big time. So, but still, that was quite a bit. That I was like, wow, that's interesting. So, yeah, you'd be surprised. You never know.
You never know. You never know. Well, thank you so much for coming today. I've had so much fun talking with you and look forward to, maybe you can come back on in a year and we'll see how far you've come and what all you've implemented and what's going on with you.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in February as well.
Excellent. Thanks so much.